I'm indeed delighted and honored to be here with you, along with Dr. Dinesh Singh and Dr. Michael Sandel, to spend about an hour and a half with you on something interesting, exciting, something we are doing it for the first time. So I keep my fingers crossed and hope technology does work once in a while.
That's good.
The program this morning is pretty simple. One, we are connected today through National Knowledge Network to around 300,000 students live right now. 300,000 students are watching us, listening to us, and many of those will be able to interact. They are at variety of locations. They are in Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Guwahati, Kharagpur, Kolhapur, Gujarat Vidyapith in Ahmedabad, Delhi University and Sri Ram College in Delhi. National Knowledge Network was set up just about 2 years ago. I have here Dr. Garola, Dr. Mani, two of the key individuals who have been sort of helping us drive this, along with Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Raghavan, Y.K. Sharma and others. I want to thank them for all the effort they have put in to get us to this level. We are today connected to 900 nodes on Knowledge Network. Ultimate idea is to connect to 1,500 nodes with 40 gigabit bandwidth, and that's a huge resource. This network is also connected to Europe, Asia Pacific, US, and it will be connected to many of the SAARC countries shortly. I want to also thank Delhi University for hosting this, taking the lead, giving us all the facilities, support. So the program this morning starts with about 10-12 minutes by me on democratization of information. Then Dr. Sandel will take over. He has been doing this on a large scale all over the world. He and I connected, in fact Rahul Gandhi connected two of us some time ago. We met in Chicago, talked about some possibilities like this just about a year ago. And we had a couple of experiments with him. One we had recently where he could connect 5 locations at the same time. Delhi, which was India, US, China, Brazil, and Japan, where he could talk to students in these 5 countries at the same time, take questions, collaborate, and make it more interactive. So his part would be a lot more interactive than my part. He would really call students to comment, get opinions, and get everybody going. I hope it works. If it doesn't, we'll sort of play it by the ear and change format a little bit. As Dr. Singh mentioned, I've been lucky to have the opportunity to get involved in several interesting activities in India. In early 80s, when we had 2 million phones, I got a chance to work on telecom. And as you know, today, we have 900 million phones. We are a nation of a connected billion. So the key challenge for us going forward is to see how we use this connectivity to build new India. And that's where I believe democratization of information is going to be very critical. We need to democratize information to hear voices of people, especially women, young, and people at the bottom of the pyramid. We have the technology to do it. We really need the right framework going forward. What we all have seen in the last few months in terms of demonstrations in Delhi, response to the rape case, young demanding that their voice be heard, is an example of the new India that we need to build. We cannot go on the way we have been going on in the past. We all recognize that, and we are lucky to have the technology tools today to be able to respond to these kinds of demands. We have right to information, but information in India is locked up in Narawali file in the government. We are trying to open that file, digitize it, make it accessible to everybody, and we are finding a lot of resistance in the system. We have 32 million court cases pending. We want to digitize judiciary, prison, police, CBI, and the list goes on and on. We do have vision in place, timing is right, and the whole process of democratization of information is an effort to take this thing forward. So I want to just quickly in 5 minutes tell you what this thing is. It is all about one, connectivity. We have 900 nodes connected on NKN. We want to connect 250,000 panchayats to optical fiber network to go all the way to the lowest form of government. We then want to create all the platforms like UID that Nandan Nilekani is working on, GIS that Dr. Kasturirangan is driving. We then want to look at all the applications like passport, driver's license, Narega, food distribution, income tax, create platforms for applications. The idea is to make government more transparent, more accountable, more accessible, and get middlemen out. We believe this will reduce corruption, this will simplify processes, but we'll have to re-engineer a lot of these processes. We also want to then create platform for cybersecurity, data centers, payment, procurement. Today, we have 10,000 software engineers working in the government to create all of these platforms. We believe in next 2 years, we will have most of this infrastructure in place. Connectivity for Panchayat would be in place, NKN would be in place, and all of the applications to start with will have the foundation for public to begin to use. This is a huge effort. No one has ever tried something this big anywhere in the world. And our numbers make it more complex because we have 1.2 billion people. We may have to do this in 10 different languages. But the fact is, when this is ready, the young generation will be able to develop applications of their own. They will learn to use this new tool in the manner they see it fit. Coupled with this, if you put in social media, you create whole new opportunities to connect, communicate, and collaborate. And I think the key in the future is to really collaborate well, so we in turn can build whole new infrastructure. Today I know it takes 15 years to get justice because our systems are completely obsolete. Documentation is old. There is fair amount of confusion. We believe you can reduce time to justice probably to 3 years if you use new tools. It's all possible. To me, almost everything we do today is essentially obsolete. How do we get birth certificate? How do we get land record? How do you apply for admission in school? How do you file a court case? How do you file FIR? All of this needs to be changed completely. And that's where the focus on democratization of information is going to be critical. If I can take FIR digitally on video, I can't manipulate anymore because it's filed instantly. Naturally, some people would resist because today they can manipulate. So there's huge resistance to this change that we want to bring. And we need support of the young to really push a lot of these reforms in the system. I can tell you I'm trying to computerize government files for last 3 years. No support. Everybody says, great, good idea, we'll do it. Nobody does it. We have a platform for open government where we need to open government data. Everyone agrees it's a great idea. We ought to do it next week. For last 6 months, nobody wants to give you data. It is in this environment that we thought this kind of an experiment would be useful in creating new opinion. So we need your support. We also need to innovate, think differently, think out of the box, bring about change, generational change. Technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's not the most important piece. The real change has to come in the mindset of people. And that's where I think Dr. Sandel is going to talk a little bit about justice, equality, and rule of law. At the end of the day, people make things happen. When we talk of innovations, I keep reminding of everybody. On one hand, you need policies, you need infrastructure, ecosystem, venture capital. But finally, people innovate. If there are no good people to innovate, you can't innovate. And the lecture that you will hear will sort of give you a feel for it. I have seen Dr. Sandel's lectures on web. I'm very impressed with his approach, with his reach, content, richness, and I hope we all get to experience that a little bit. This is the first lecture of this kind. If things work, we would like to do this every month. We also have Twitter going at the same time. There are a couple of young people in my team, Suhas, Sukhman, Vikas, and others. So we will be taking questions from Twitter as well. And there are hundreds of thousands of people live, online, watching this at their homes. I know of some friends in US already connected. So there's an interesting exercise. Let's see how it goes. With this, I want to welcome Dr. Sandel. Michael, floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
And he would be walking around, so if we throw one of the cables off, bear with us.
Thank you.
This is an amazing crowd right here in this room. And this is just one very small part of the larger gathering that we are a part of today. I want to begin by thanking Vice Chancellor Singh and Sam Pitroda for setting up this remarkable experiment. It is an experiment, after all. And its success depends on you. And by you, I mean not only those of us gathered here in this hall, in Delhi University, but also participating in universities across India. The National Knowledge Network, I've just been learning about it. It's a remarkable experiment because it offers the possibility of a new kind of public discourse. I don't know much about technology, but I do know that today, around the world, there's an enormous faith and belief and optimism in the possibility of new information technology, new instruments of communication, being able to bring the world together as never before, helping us understand one another, strengthening the bonds of human communities, diminishing the enmity among peoples around the world. A lot of that is fine, abstract talk. Because I think that what matters most is how we use these tools, what we make of them. And that is not a question that technology can answer. That's a question, it's a moral question, a social and political question that only we can answer. How many here in Delhi University, and then I want to put this too, can we see the other universities on the screen? Can we put those up now? I want to see, just by a show of hands, how many of you here are students? Raise your hand, those of you who are students. A lot of students. And then we'll have to include them in the discussion too. Sure. I want to hear especially from students here at Delhi University, but also at the universities that are connected. There they are, some of them.
Yep, they're all there.
Now, those of you who we now see on the screen, universities across India, raise your hand while we're still looking at you on the screen. Let's see if they can raise their hands just to see if they can hear us and if we can see them.
Let's move on.
Now let's begin. I'd like to begin, since I want to test my hunch that what really matters is public discourse. All right, now we see some of the linked universities. Raise your hand, those of you in those universities who can hear me and see us here at Delhi University. Raise your hands if you can hear us.
Yep.
There they are. It's working already. Now, that was the easy part. Now I want to see if we can take advantage of this opportunity that the National Knowledge Network has provided to have a discussion about a hard question on which people have very strong views. And I want to first begin by putting to you a question and have you give your views by raising your hand. I want to start with a practice question before I get to the really difficult one. While we see on the screens the remote locations, just as we do now, to the students who are watching there and also the students, let's keep the remote locations up, please, and the students here in Delhi University. Actually, everyone can vote, whether or not you're a student. I want to start off with an easy question. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? I have a great deal of confidence. This is a question for you. Agree or disagree? I have a great deal of confidence that the political system is capable of addressing the problems that matter most to Indian society today. How many agree with that statement? Raise your hand. I have a great deal of confidence in the ability of the political system to deal with the major problems facing India today. Keep your hands up, those of you who agree. And now what about in the remote locations? Can we see how many agree there? We can show them on the screen. Now, raise your hands, those of you who disagree with that statement. And in the remote locations, how many disagree with that statement? Quite a few. In fact, it looks like an overwhelming majority. Well, that isn't the hardest question we're going to discuss today. But it does suggest something about an attitude that is widespread in democracies today of deep frustration with political institutions, with political parties, and with the way democracy is working. And I think that one of the reasons for that widespread frustration is that we are not very good. Democratic societies around the world are struggling at engaging in serious public discourse on big questions that really matter. So today, what I would like to do is to put to you, here in this hall and at our locations around India, a hard and difficult and fraught question. And then I want to get your views about it, and then I want to see if we can have a discussion here in the hall, and if the technology works, with our participants who are connected. It's about recent events in India. And it's about the lessons to be drawn from those events. So are you prepared for this question? All right. First, I just want to take a vote by a show of hands, whether you agree or disagree with the following statement, and then we'll have a discussion about it. It's about violence against women. The statement I want you to respond to is this: dealing with violence against women requires more than better law enforcement and swifter criminal justice. It requires a transformation of the roles and relationship of men and women in Indian society. How many agree with that statement? How many disagree with that statement? How many disagree? Not too many of this. Are you sure you're not just being bashful? You need to be brave if we're going to do this. How many disagree? All right, well then maybe we will find some disagreements in answering the question of how and what kind of transformation in the role and relationship of men and women should be carried out or aspired to. So let's begin. You ready for this? Let's begin our discussion Most people just now have said that there needs to be a transformation of the roles and relationships of men and women in Indian society. And I'll begin here in Delhi University, and we have people with microphones. Those of you who have the microphones to carry them, raise your hand so I can see where you are. All right. Here's the first question then. How do you think? You think the terms of relation between men and women needs to be transformed in Indian society? How and in what way? Who will begin our discussion? Yes, stand up, tell us your name, we will get you a microphone. Microphone there? Get her a microphone. Quickly. We have 5 microphones, so let's spread it. You seem only to have 1 microphone. All right, tell us your name.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Riva Singh. I am from B.R. Ambedkar College, University of Delhi. Sir, the mindset of male, actually in India, we are having a male-dominating society. And this male-dominating society is very narrow-minded towards females, especially in villages. And this is the conclusion, what we have as Khap Panchayat. And there's a need of change. And I can't say that this can be changed by a change of mindset, but stringent laws should be applied, and education system, it should be improved. And females should be given the priority in the society, because once they come up, they'll handle the society, but they're not getting the chance.
All right, thank you for that. Who else? And what I would like to hear are some concrete suggestions about what should be changed in attitudes or social attitudes toward women or social practices. Yes. Go ahead, toward the back.
A very good morning, sir. And first of all, I want to say that this is a privilege to hear from you. I'm from Miranda House, Department of Zoology. Sir, I want to say that the child itself has, through the education system, he has been taught that when he's asked, what are your parents doing? He has always been given a feedback that my father is in the office and my mother is in the kitchen. So this is the thing which has been taught to the child in his in the childhood.
And how should that be changed?
So first of all, when your roots are built up, your foundation is that female has to be dominated by men. Men always go out, female are always in the home. This feedback that the child gets.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you think that if women were given an equal opportunity to work and to have careers, that this would change?
Sir, today the women, this is not that domestic violence was not happening in the women during past. But today when the women have come out from their home, they are more aware for their security.
Yes.
They are coming up. Today we can know through media, we can come up to the cases, we can know. And they were very relevant cases in our society in the past also. But they were not known to us. Because
Good.
Women were quite afraid of going out
Yes.
and informing other people.
Good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Who else can add to this discussion with a concrete or further concrete suggestion of a change that you think should be made? Yes. Go ahead. Toward the back. Yes.
Good morning.
Right here. The person in the blue shirt, and then we'll come back to you in a moment. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I am Shubham from Department of Chemistry, Zakir Hussain College. And although the medieval period ended about 500 years ago in India, we are still in dark age. And dark age is because we are treating the women as a commodity in present also. We are treating women as a commodity which is owned by family or the male members of the family. Till the time it will not change, the society is not going to change, the mindset is not going to change, and the conditions are not going to change.
Let me ask you a question. do you think that the family structure has to change, that the family structure enforces
Everything
the
should
domination of women?
everything should be changed, because when we enter in the school, in the kindergartens or in the play school, in the classes, in the starting classes of the school, there are separate rows for girls and boys in the majority of the schools of our country. So the discrimination starts from the beginning. If the discrimination is not made in the beginning, it will not make the roots which are becoming violent in the adult group.
All right, so we've had two different kinds of answers. Thank you for that. One has to do with the labor force, careers, access to careers, working outside the home. The other has to do with the structure of the family and the role of women within the family. Yes, toward the back, woman in the red. Do you have, go ahead. I want to take one more comment from Delhi University, and then I want to call on some of our participants who are connected. Yes, go ahead. Right here in the front.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Rutba, Pol Science Honours, Indraprasth College. Sir, definitely equal opportunity to work in education is one phase where changing roles can help. But it is not only about opportunity concept of freedom, but also exercise concept. That is to say, to what extent women are actually able to exercise the freedoms that they're given, whether or not their work is being given the weightage that it really deserves.
And why you suggest this is an interesting distinction. Did everybody hear and understand the distinction between the opportunity,
yes, sir,
freedom of equality of opportunity in the workplace, let's
yes, sir,
say,
yes, sir,
or in education,
yes, sir,
and the ability to exercise that opportunity? What's the difference? If you could imagine a society where there were, under law, equal opportunities in education and employment for men and women, why would that, do you think, fall short of answering what you call the exercise understanding of opportunity?
So definitely having opportunities is not the, definitely it is a prerequisite for freedom, but that is not that is not freedom in totality. You need to exercise what opportunities you get. So that is definitely the prerequisite to freedom, but not freedom as whole. That's what I believe.
So if I'm free to apply for any job I want to, if I'm free to apply to any university I want to,
Yes, sir.
I'm still not fully free unless I can actually get the job or attend that university. Is that what you mean?
Achievement of external impediments, impositions of external impediments is you are just being given the opportunity to freedom. But reaching your goal is not unfreedom, but not being able to reach your goal can be termed as unfreedom. That's what I believe.
What do people think about that? That it's not enough, but tell me your name again.
Rutba.
Rutwa?
Rutba.
Rutba.
Yeah, thank you.
Did I get it? Pretty close. All right, Rutba. Rutba's idea is that equality of opportunity in education and employment are not sufficient conditions of true freedom.
Yes, sir.
Freedom requires that men and women actually exercise the freedoms that the law and the structures and institutions of society make possible.
Yes, sir.
Is there someone who disagrees with that idea, who would like to challenge that idea? Yes? Wait, no. I want someone who, you've already had an opportunity. I want to hear someone who hasn't spoken yet, who disagrees. What about way in the back? Who disagrees? Is there someone at our remote locations who would like to address this argument? Anyone in the remote locations? Okay, in Gujarat, I see someone. Let's see if we can bring in Gujarat. There are a couple of people there who would like to speak about this. They weren't raising their hands. All right. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Maybe not. Who here would like to address that question? Or in any other of the remote locations, is there a volunteer to address this question? Is there a difference? Remember what the question is. Is there a difference between equal opportunity for jobs and for education and actually exercising? Does true freedom require that you exercise? Who would like to address that question in any of our remote locations? Do we have some?
Hello, I am from Shivaji University. I want to interact.
Go ahead.
Hello, can I interact?
Yes, yes.
I am from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra.
All right. We can hear you.
Yes, I want to interact regarding the question you posed. Actually, the family is the basic ground where patriarchy is nurtured, and that is where power relations are taken into consideration between the male and female. And you posed a question as to what can be the solution. The solution is, as you rightly pointed out, is we need to give equal opportunity to the male as well as female right from the family level as well as into the society. Despite the fact that women, girls are bright enough, they are intelligent, they do have capacity, they are not being given an opportunity to compete with the male counterparts at almost all the parts of, at almost all the levels of the career. And so I feel that equal opportunity is the basic necessity from the democratic point of view, and the starting ground would be the family. Thank you.
All right, may I ask you a question? Thank you for that. May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that achieving a fuller, more meaningful, we've got feedback, equality of opportunity can be achieved mainly through changes in law or mainly through changes in culture and attitudes in the family?
So it is basically the mindset that needs to be changed, and that is through the culture of the society. The technology comes later on. Only if the mindsets and the attitudes of the men and women both needs to be changed, and that is how we can have a transformation in the society.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there anyone in Delhi or in any of the other remote locations who would like to address this? Yes.
Kharagpur.
Sitting on the aisle. Stand up.
Kharagpur want to talk.
Sir, good morning. I am Albert Abraham doing PhD in Delhi University. And what I feel is that each woman has to be economically and intellectually self-dependent. That would be the only solution. And all our efforts to empower women or emancipate women should be guided by this principle.
The principle is economic independence. What is the principle?
Hello, can I come in? Hello, can Gujarat come in?
Yeah, economic and intellectual dependence.
Okay, go ahead. Gujarat.
Okay. I think that the responses are partial in the sense that whatever has been said is right, but there is a point. You provide equal opportunity for what? That is an unanswered question in a society which doesn't have a clear vision. You, perhaps all of you can see what we are doing here. The important point is that if the focus of education, economic opportunity is all for a me first, greedy, grabbing society, the situations will not improve. Men and women will become equal, but men's equality will be slightly higher because of the social male-dominate society, which is what we are seeing in this country even today, with a lot of educated women.
Thank you for that. That's actually a very interesting question that our participant from Gujarat has asked. Give him a round of applause.
Hello.
We've been discussing. No, notice.
Kharagpur want to respond.
Wait, let me first point out.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
We've been talking about equality of opportunity. I'll come to Pune in 1 minute. We've been talking about equality of opportunity.
Excuse me, sir.
And understanding equality of opportunity within the family, in relation to the world of work, in education. But our participant from Gujarat says, equality of opportunity for what? To achieve what? To create what? To do what? And we haven't really answered that question yet. We have someone, I think, in Pune who would like to contribute to this discussion.
Good morning, sir. My name is Pitroda and I'm from Pune University. I would like to speak more as a woman now. Now, if we are talking about education and workplace, but what about the mere thing of navigating public spaces? We have equal opportunity even today. A woman can go to any public space. But is the woman exercising that freedom to navigate that public space, maybe even late at night? We are not doing that because there is fear, there is insecurity. So it is also the mindset of a woman which is inhibiting her exercising of freedom. So it's not just about equal opportunity as has been rightly going on in the discussion. It is also that we have to be empowered to exercise that opportunity. Only then can something happen. Because if we can go and navigate the public spaces without any fear, like somebody will stalk us or somebody will follow us, then probably we'll have that equality in the society. And this is a very basic thing. If I want to stay late up at night, just like a man would, and say take a walk in the garden in my university itself, it's not really possible.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for that. There is a certain theme emerging in this discussion. If we consider this last comment from the woman in Pune, she says it's not only a matter of equality of opportunity in the sense of legal equality, because if we consider public spaces, there is an equal right legally for men and women to enter public spaces, including late at night. But women, she just now suggested, are not empowered to exercise, it's back to the exercise concept of freedom, that opportunity because of fear, because of insecurity. And so there are really two different philosophical ideas that have emerged from this discussion, even as we've just begun. One is the idea of equality of opportunity, equality under the law, non-discrimination under the law, equal access to education, to universities, to jobs, to public spaces. That's one idea. But then we've heard several critics of that idea who say that principle is not strong enough because it misses the dimension of empowerment, which is just what the woman in Pune emphasized, or the ability to exercise in a meaningful way that opportunity. Are there others who would like to contribute to this discussion from our...
Lady Sri Ram College would like to come in.
We'll go back to the back of the room in Delhi. Yes. Go ahead. No, the woman raising two hands, we'll let her do it.
Excuse me, sir. I am Calcutta.
Okay, and then after that, we'll come back to Lady Sri Ram College. Go ahead. We see you. We see you. Go ahead. All right, we'll wait for the microphone in Delhi, and we'll go now to Lady Sri Ram College. Who would like to speak in Lady Sri Ram College?
Good morning, sir. First of all, a very warm welcome to you. This is Deepshika Singh from Lakshmi Bai College.
Let's see if we can have the camera person there focus on you.
Okay,
so we can see you.
And, sir...
Oh, I'm sorry. You're back here. All right. Go ahead.
I'd like to
I'm
express
sorry.
my view on this whole discussion which is going on, uh, which is circulating around the feminist perspective of the society, like equality to the women and discrimination against women and all these. I'd like to say that, sir, we are talking about equality of opportunity. So I just want to say, like, we must not view equality of opportunity as a whole thing. We must view it as a heading of a whole topic to which we have to prepare. Like, this is a thing that definitely our government is doing a lot of things for the upliftment of women in the society. But what I felt and noticed in my life of 20 years is that sir, government is definitely doing many things. It is taking definitely many steps for the upliftment of women, but still every step of the government is incomplete in a sense, like something is missing everywhere. Like,
And what is, can you identify a common thread in what you think is missing?
like, sir, if we will see the educational field. So we are studying in University of Delhi, and we are paying around 5,000 for the whole year, or 6,000 for the whole year. And it is very less in comparison to other private universities in India, like IP University and many more universities which are charging around 1,35,000 per sem or 2 lakh per sem. But sir, if we will see about the aspects like the system of re-evaluation, so for a girl or for a boy, we are charged 1,000 per subject for re-evaluation.
Yes.
Then sir, in that case, if the girl is a girl, like if the family is having 4 girls and 1 boy.
All right.
In that,
thank you for that. I want to hear from Lady Shri Ram College. There are a number of people there who want to contribute. Yes, go ahead.
If no, sir.
Let's give them a chance. Lady Shri Ram College, who wants to speak?
This is from Lady Shriram College. This is Riya Parmar, student of Political Science Department. What I think is there are many structural impediments, and there's a big difference between an equality of opportunity and substantial equality. And substantial equality can only be achieved with a reformulation of both the public and the private sphere. At every single level, there's a patriarchal element which comes in, and it defines power relations in the mind as well as in every institution that we go to, including our government and our state. So I think when we come to a definite conclusion on how to change these power relations, there can be something that can be done about substantial equality.
All right, thank you for that. I want to make an observation and then ask a final question before we conclude this portion, and then we also have people on Twitter who are offering contributions. An observation and a final question. The observation is this.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We began with a question, and almost everyone agreed with an answer to that question. That violence against women is not simply a matter of law enforcement and criminal justice. It's also a matter of changing the roles and relation of men and women. But then as we discussed what those changes should be and what vision, what moral and political vision should animate those changes, there were actually 2 competing strands, 2 competing philosophical ideas. One of them emphasized equality of opportunity. The other emphasized something beyond equality of opportunity. It was differently expressed. Sometimes it had to do with empowerment. Sometimes it had to do with effective exercise of freedom. How to work out the ideal of equality, what it means to go beyond equality of opportunity as a formal principle, That's an issue that we have just begun to discuss. But you can see that even that question, which points to big philosophical arguments on both sides, generates quite a lot of disagreement. I'd like to make a final observation about this project in which we're engaged, this experiment. We've just begun this experiment in technology, using the National Knowledge Network, not just to connect people in the abstract, but to connect people to engage in the discussion of questions that we all care about. There is a tendency to think that technology, new technologies of communication, can solve deep human, moral, and political problems. Some people welcoming a new technology of information and communication put it this way. Now, thanks to technology, time and distance and space are overcome. Now, thanks to technology, all the peoples of the world will be able to understand one another and to sympathize with one another. And some even said of this technology, this will make war obsolete. Do you know what technology they were talking about? The telegraph, which was an early version of the National Knowledge Network. And there were great hopes when the telegraph was invented, that now the differences between persons and cultures and societies and nations and civilizations would be overcome and would give way to human understanding and compassion and sympathy. But technology never works that way. And I think despite the promise of new communications technology, it won't work that way today either. Because what that idea misses is that what matters most is not just connectivity, but community. Not just networking, but deliberating together about big questions that matter. We've done a very small preliminary experiment today, not only in technology, but also in that kind of public discourse and public deliberation. And so my hope, Sam, my hope is that through education, through social movements, through a more active civil society, we will use the opportunity presented by the internet, by national knowledge networks, by new technologies of communication, we will use them as instruments of a better kind of democratic public discourse, where we learn to reason together in public about big questions, including questions that raise hard and fraught moral questions, like the one we've been just discussing. Whether that happens is not something that even the best network of technology can answer. It's a challenge that can only be answered through institutions of education, through deepening democracy so that we elevate the terms of public discourse to address questions that people really and rightly care about. And it depends in the end on our capacity to be and to become better democratic citizens capable of this kind of discourse and argument together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sandel. It was very interesting.
I've been sort of watching audience here and audience at remote locations. And I see a lot of energy in this young crowd. It was interesting, enjoyable for me, and I know that we all like to talk. And I wish we had a whole day to interact. I know hour and a half is just not long enough. The message also is that people want their voices to be heard, and they have something to say. And in the past, we haven't heard them well. And this is a civilized way to have conversation, as opposed to going on the street, burning buses, doing lathi charge, and harassing people, and being in a mob with frenzy that at times is frightening. This is also an example of respecting each other's opinion, agreeing to disagree. And I hope we can have many more of these conversations. I am big on internet and web, not only because I have spent now 48 years in telecom industry, but also I firmly believe that after 15,000 years, there is something that brings people closer together. Last time it happened was when language was invented. Like Dr. Sandel said, you can now carry on dialogue with different cultures, different countries, different thoughts. I know that internet and web is changing everything. It is changing the way we educate, way we learn, govern, socialize, entertain, work at home, work in the offices. And I hope our young begin to understand the new opportunities, because we do have a challenge, mainly because we have 550 million young below age of 25. We got to create 15 million new jobs every year, year after year. And it will require a whole different way of dealing with our society. We need to change, and I hope today would be sort of another instrument in this journey for change. You need to change, I need to change, we need to change if we want to build New India. And I think it is time to begin to build New India. And I hope Knowledge Network can play a small little role in this. Thank you, Dr. Sandel. I hope we have more time to talk. I believe there are a couple of Twitter questions that you might want to take now, because the Twitter audience would be disappointed if you don't answer one or two. I know there will be a headline in the paper tomorrow that they did not answer Twitter questions. They will forget about all this stuff. Our great media will jump on our inability to answer questions, and somebody will say there were tough questions on Twitter that both refused to answer. So please help me.
Well, one of the Twitter comments comes from Tabish Azim, who says there is a difference, an example being women being restricted from exercising freedom after marriage in spite of education. Now, I assume that this is a response to the part of the discussion we just had, having to do with the difference between formal opportunity and maybe, in a certain way, equal opportunity to get an education, but an inability to exercise that freedom given, Tabish is suggesting, the institution of marriage and the family and the way it's enacted. And this also goes to the part of our discussion that had to do with whether changing the law or changing social practices and cultural attitudes
is the best way or the necessary way of transforming the role and standing of women. And so I think that that's a very powerful example of precisely the dilemmas that people raised in the discussion. We have a second Twitter comment from Prakhar Misra, who says, it's a question, how can we make the government more interactive and transparent? It's interesting that it's put this way. Interactive and transparent, those are good things, I suppose. We want government to be interactive and transparent. But it's also interesting to me that we use the language of interactivity and transparency these days instead of an older language. It's almost as if it replaces an older language of democracy and accountability. Now, I'm all for transparency. That's a good thing. And Sam, you've been working on that.
We are trying.
But transparency is not a value in and of itself. It's an instrumental value. Really what it means is enabling citizens to see what previously was unavailable to them. Information, primarily. But just seeing, that's not all that citizenship or democratic citizenship is about. Because to be a citizen is not only to have access to information, it's to be able to act, to intervene, to complain, to argue, to disagree. And so I think it's important. I don't think Sam and I disagree, but it's maybe a difference of emphasis in the way we come at this, given our different fields. I think important, though transparency in government is, we shouldn't allow it to distract us from the larger value of democratic accountability, which is an active stance. It's a civic virtue. Transparency, like technology, is a tool, it's an instrument, it's a precondition. But it's not by itself, it doesn't give us the content of civic engagement and democratic activism. It's a precondition of it and important in that sense.
Since we have little more time,
and we have
I think it'll be good also at some point in time after you finish a couple of Twitter questions to give chance to our friends in Calcutta,
yes,
Guwahati, Bangalore, and Mumbai. Just a quick.
All right, I see a hand in Calcutta. Before we go back to Twitter, let's see what the person who raised
question from Calcutta
has
and then we'll go back to Twitter.
Go ahead.
So instead of a question, I just wanted to comment that the point raised about the equality and the opportunity. First, having opportunity is not the only important.
Can you
point.
hold your microphone close to your mouth? Eat it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, so my point was about the opportunity. So it's actually important to realizing the opportunity instead of having just that opportunity. Because if you don't realize the importance of that opportunity, then even if you have that opportunity, you're not going to actually materialize that opportunity. So right now, government is trying to give lots of opportunity to women as well. But they don't know the importance of that opportunity, so they're not putting a lot of efforts to realize and make full use of them. And this realization of opportunity maybe is not happening because of these stereotypes in Indian society. And my point is these stereotypes maybe can be removed by implementing the basic family values. For example, my professor commented is that when a child look at his parents, so there is a distinction between roles. So the mother cooks and the father is he earns for his house. So if there can be a sharing of roles, for example, the father cooks sometimes, even mother manages finances at home. So this sharing of roles might help to change.
Okay, we got it.
Good. Yes, well, it's another example. This comment from the person in Calcutta is another challenge to the idea that opportunity as such is a sufficient condition for freedom. And this is a point that's come up again and again from different angles, very interestingly, in our discussion, including the person in Gujarat who said, equal opportunity for the sake of what? And that's parallel in a way to the questions we've been asking also about technology. Connectivity, transparency, for the sake of what kind of public discourse? What should we say once we have the opportunity to speak and to communicate with one another? And this in a way is related to one of the next Twitter questions from Wasim. Science offers people power, but no moral framework to tell you how to use that power. And that in a way connects with this discussion that we've been having. Science, and I suppose also technology, which is really what we've been discussing and experimenting with, offers a tremendous power. It offers an opportunity to go to that concept that we've been discussing, but it does not supply, Wasim I think is right about this, it does not supply a moral framework that can tell us how to use that power. So again, we come back to the idea that has arisen in so much of this discussion, that the moral framework and the civic purposes that we bring to new technology and its opportunities, and to the opportunities afforded us by law, make all the difference. Make all the difference. Now, there's another remote location, Sam. You said that
Kharagpur, I see a lot of people in Kharagpur, and they are also law students. If they don't get a chance, they'll be disappointed. Can we have a question from Kharagpur? That's great.
We want to respond.
One question from Kharagpur, please.
Yeah, yes, please.
they're fighting about who will have that opportunity.
I think you should have a lottery.
Am I audible?
Introduce.
Am I audible there?
Yeah, if you hold your microphone, even it will help.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. I am Gaurav. I am from law school from IIT Kharagpur. And I think the whole discussion started with the condition of political system and then crime against women, then equal opportunity. And there are many other problems. I think there is one basic element which is present in every of this discussion. That is enforcement mechanism. Today, our policing system, which is the basic system which protects the legal and fundamental rights of every citizen in this country, it is crippled from top to the bottom. I think a common man, if it is slapped today, it finds it very inconvenient to go to police and it finds difficult to register an FIR. So I think until and unless that enforcement mechanism is empowered, made effective, I think nothing, no change, no social change could work out that effectively. I am agreeing that these are also the problems, but the first we need to look upon is the enforcement mechanism. I think there are enough laws in India which are in favor of women and which are there on paper, but the lack of enough enforcement mechanism makes it ineffective, makes it intangible rather than tangible. So a common man cannot exercise those rights even if they have them. So I think one common element which is basic necessity needs to be improved is policing system.
Got it.
Thank you. It's a point that we hadn't really discussed. We've not focused in this discussion very much on the enforcement of existing laws, in part because earlier on in the discussion, almost everyone agreed that it's a problem that goes beyond legal enforcement. But the point raised just now, I think, is an important reminder that the criminal justice system matters, and the way in which existing laws are enforced matters. And so I don't think that our focus in this discussion on broader cultural and moral themes should obscure that, the importance of that, of the criminal justice system and the enforcement of existing laws. We have, so should we, you want me to take
Can you read it?
Yes. We've got, one question is from Tabi Shazim. Your thoughts on how this National Knowledge Network experiment today has turned out? Well, I think it's turned out pretty well. We've only just begun, really.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
I think what it does show, well, are a couple of things. First, the tremendous potential here for a kind of public discourse, reasoned public discourse, that can take on big questions that involve competing values. That's the hardest part. Competing values where we disagree, and yet where we can reason together, argue with one another, deliberate together about the meaning of equality and of opportunity and of freedom and of citizenship. And even if we don't come to some neat conclusion, which we certainly didn't come to in this brief discussion, the ability to reason together and developing those habits of civic deliberation, that's what creates a democratic culture and deepens a democratic culture. And that's what makes for a better kind of democratic citizenship. So I think the experiment has been a great success, and it simply shows us how much more work and how many possibilities we still have before us. Was there one last, do we have time for one last remote location?
I think we need to go back to maybe Bangalore, Guwahati and Mumbai. Those are the three.
Okay.
We need to implement opportunity. Any interest from Bangalore?
Lady Shriram.
Guwahati want to.
Okay, let's start
There is
with
a question.
Bangalore. Okay, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think we should, for the immediate sake, for the immediate effect, focus more on the policing thing and implementing the current laws rather than focusing on the attitude. The attitude will come gradually with education. As education penetrates deeper into our society, it will get better with time. But for immediate effect, we should focus more on the implementation of laws.
Right. Okay, so here we come back to this question, the different emphasis people place on the enforcement of existing laws versus changing cultural attitudes and social practices and relations within the family. And so I think in this last round of the discussion, we've heard more voices emphasizing the enforcement of law, maybe as a prelude or a precondition for the gradual education and changing of cultural values. Who do we have next, Sam?
Next we can go to Guwahati.
Sir, I'd like to ask a question. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, sir, actually it's something that he'll understand. I believe in Rawls' idea that all our strengths and handicaps are not of our own doing. So when we are talking about justice and equality, we'll have to nullify those handicaps. I mean, we'll have to empower women over men at the sacrifice of meritocracy. So I'd like to see how many people in this incredible crowd that has gathered here would agree, and to what extent they would agree to compromise on meritocracy to bring equality. I mean, is it 50%? Are they willing that a girl is scoring 50 and a guy is scoring 80 should be enrolled, in a company to provide equality? I will like to know the limits to which people are ready to go.
All right, here's a good provocative question that we can take up. In a way, it's a question that could launch our next session of this series. But the question really is there a tension or a trade-off between empowering women on the one hand and meritocracy on the other? The suggestion of the speaker in Guwahati is that there is a tension, a trade-off between empowering women and adhering to meritocratic standards in university admissions, in employment. So that's one question. Is there a tension, a trade-off between the two? And the second question then is, if there is it worth sacrificing meritocratic principles in order to assure through affirmative action or reservation systems or quotas empowerment and representation for women in the workplace, in companies, in government, in universities? So I imagine that if we were, in a way, this would really be a starting point for another session here. But if we had such a session, we would first discuss, is there a trade-off or a tension? And then the second half would be, if there is, which principle should take priority? We could put it, Sam, we could put it to the group, but I think we would be here for another 2 or 3 hours at least. But if I come back, I'd be more than happy for us to have a session on that.
Okay.
Right.
How about IIT Mumbai?
Hello.
Or Bombay?
I am Tipu Sultan from School of Management, IIT Bombay. George Orwell in his book Animal Farm said that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than the others. That's precisely what the situation in the country is right now. We have the, in terms of engineering, we have the toughest engineering entrance examination. In terms for management students, we have the CAT. In terms for public service commissions, we have the UPSC, the toughest examinations for each and every level. But when it comes to leading a country, no one knows what the qualification of a politician is. Does he know enough? If someone is handling Ministry of Home Affairs, we don't know if he has the credibility to take up that position. No one is actually testing him or whether he knows something on that or not. He wins a ticket, he or she wins a ticket, gets into the parliament, and then finally it's all said and done over there, and internal communications happen, and which we are not aware of. We are just involved in the voting process, and when it's done, we are forgotten for the next 5 years. And when it comes to democratization of information, we all know this. It's an accepted fact right across the world, and nothing of this sort has ever. A knowledge of this sort has never been done to portray this fact. And
Okay,
this is
great.
what I want to ask you about the justice part of it. Is it a justice to us as the citizen of this country, as citizen of this world?
Okay, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Could I ask you a question about that?
Yes, sir.
Are you suggesting, do I understand you to be suggesting, that democracy is not a meritocracy?
Definitely not, sir. Democracy is, that's what we have failed to implement democracy. It's not democracy anymore. As I would again like to repeat what Orwell had said. Everyone is equal, but some are more equal than others. And that's what we feel in the day-to-day grind in our lives, that we are not equal. There are more people who are equal than others, although being the citizens of the country.
Great. Okay, thank you for that. We did have, all right, we've got one other remote location that hasn't spoken.
Yeah, no. I think now we have all remote locations covered.
All right.
So I'm sure they won't complain. Maybe you can answer Twitter if you want, and then we can turn it over to Dr. Singh.
Well, the one Twitter that passed by a moment ago was asking us, was suggesting that it was wonderful to connect all of these universities throughout India. But what about representation from rural India? The question was...
wait for the panchayat connectivity.
What about that? When are we going to be able to connect to the villages?
It will happen guaranteed in next 12 months. Guaranteed.
Really? That's pretty strong. So does that mean if I come back in 12 months, Sam, that we can
we will connect you to 50 panchayats. Okay, we could have done it this time also. Okay.
Well, all right.
We will do that.
So that's pretty impressive. Are we summing up now?
I think so. Before I turn it over to Dr. Singh, I
A
must say
minute
you
on
all
that.
have been a great audience. Really.
Sam, can I have a minute on that?
Not just here, but all the remote locations. You've been just wonderful. Love you. Bye. This is yours. Great. Good audience.
Well, it looks like all good things have to finally come to an end, but this is, as you must understand, not really coming to an end. This is just the beginning. From here, many, many good things will happen in the years to come, and India will find its rightful place in all senses of the term. I would like to thank all those who helped make this event possible. Of course, as I said at the beginning, Sam Pitroda is the driving force, the guru, the mentor for me personally and for this university, and he was the one who initiated this idea. The NIC, Dr. Chidambaram, who worked hard, Dr. Gairola, Dr. Mani, and many of his colleagues, who took so much time and effort to put up the National Knowledge Network in such a marvelous way. You have all had a complete demonstration of the power of the National Knowledge Network. Sam's own team, Sukhman, Vikas, all of them, they worked so hard. My colleagues here in the university, Professor Malashri Lal, Parminder, Dr. Sanjeev Singh, the entire team here, they spared no effort to make sure that this event is a success. I was heartened to see that Professor Sandel started with the issue of women. It is important for us to recognize this, the power in society that women can wield if they are given their rightful place. Let us not forget that the message of Christianity went to Europe through the work of Roman women. The Roman men crucified Christ. It was the women who saw what Christ was, and they carried the message of Christianity. Remember that Emperor Ashok became what he became because of his wife, who converted him to non-violence in Buddhism. Mahatma Gandhi, all his life, said that he learned the lessons of non-violence from his wife, Kasturba. So the power of women, and I'm so grateful to Professor Sandel that he has once again brought this issue into focus, and I could see that our youth are exercised by these issues, and the more we dwell on them, the better it will be. I was just wondering when this whole episode was in progress, that the National Knowledge Network can maybe make many of these good things happen. Let the young connect in different parts of the country. Maybe we should, Sam, have a youth conference through the National Knowledge Network where all youth of India get together.
You organize, this is a great room to launch, a wonderful setting, great ambience. You take the lead and we will do it.
Thank you, thank you. Remember, this is just technology, as Professor Sandel himself said. You know, when the telegraph was invented, they said this will now bring wars to an end. I don't know how many of our young people know that it was the Zimmerman telegram that brought the United States into war in the First World War. So it really worked the other way around. Sometimes the telegraph can go wrong. But then Sam and Professor Sandel both said it's really the moral force, the mindset. As long as we have a moral force riding on the technology, good things will happen. Let us recognize the moral force. And therefore, if the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, Swami Vivekanand, Chandrasekhar Venkatraman, etc. were to go through the National Knowledge Network, there would be great things happening. And therefore, eventually, I'm reminded of Kabir. Mala kahe kaat ki, tu kyun phere moe, man ka pher le, turat mila du toye. Thank you very much.
By the way, this is Dr. Mani. This is Dr. Mani, who single-handedly helped us build Knowledge Network. He never gets credit. Nobody knows him. He's never in forefront. He gets it done. Thank you. We will open it. We will open it. Okay. Follow the instructions. Oh, yes.
So well seen.
Plate on knowledge method. Thank you, Dr. Mani.
Well, I am told there is arrangement for tea outside. The sun has come out. The veil has lifted. We can all go and enjoy tea outside. You're welcome on my right here.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
God, the power of technology, finally we harnessed it. The whole country. This has never happened before.